these people would include a very prominent founding member of the New Patriotic Party. Now, I've heard Mr. Kwame Pieni, who I respect a lot, say that if the NPP insists on continuing this path, the path it is on today, it will become like the Convention People's Party. Indeed, just in the course of this discussion today, you have read a message from Dr. Nyaho Togbe, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, who thinks that this destruction can be averted. But then the signs are there that it will happen or can happen, you understand. Now, it seems to me that the leadership of the party is not aware of this situation. It seems to me that the leadership of the party still believes that things are normal and that if only they could elect their preferred candidate as flag bearer and pump a lot of money into the elections and so on, they are likely to win the next elections. It seems to me that this is delusional, completely delusional. And I really think by the leaders of the party would be very, very useful for the party and to the leaders themselves. Now, Senna, why? What is happening within the New Patriotic Party is not just about the New Patriotic Party, it's leadership aspirants and members. It is indeed about the whole country and everybody in the country and even beyond the borders of this country. Because political parties, by definition, are public institutions. And they are public institutions because eventually they will contest elections. And whether they win or not, they will still make an impact on the course of national development. If they win, there will be those who will be administering the national purse. All the taxes we pay will be in their hands. They will decide what to do with the taxes that Ghanaians pay. In fact, they will decide whether we survive as a people or we don't. So, for example, if the NPP were to win elections, and it decided to hand over the Achimota forest to private developers, it will be deciding on life and death issues for the people of Accra. Because the Achimota forest is the only carbon sink in the whole of Accra. And if they had power for them to decide whether the land should be handed over to private developers or should continue to be preserved as a forest, it will have serious consequences for all of us. And that is why what is happening in the New Patriotic Party is not just about the New Patriotic Party, but it's about all of us. You see, just before Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo left office, a few hours, 2 or 3 hours before he left office, he took a very strange decision. A decision to suspend or downgrade relations with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. That decision has had consequences for the whole world. In fact, I've seen protests signed by trade union leaders from more than 140 countries, protesting about the action that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo took. Because you see, that decision undermined international legality. It undermined principles, anti-colonial, principles of national liberation, principles of self-preservation and so on, enshrined in international law. So whoever we elect in Ghana as a leader of a political party with a potential, even if that potential is remote, to become president of Ghana or to get into government in Ghana has consequences for the whole world. Indeed, when President Akufo Addo went to Washington and had a meeting with Blinken, in which he sought the support of the United States of America to undermine the government in Burkina Faso, it had consequences for the whole world. It had consequences for the patriotic revolution which has broken out in the Sahel. It had consequences for the attempt to reset the world and so on. So this is the basis upon which every Ghanaian, and indeed every citizen of the world, has a right to find out what is happening in the New Patriotic Party and to make a contribution to the current discussions which are taking place in the New Patriotic Party. Now, if you watch, if you listen to what is happening in the party, it's extremely alarming, extremely worrying. You have a member of the party, a leader of the party, somebody who wants to become the presidential candidate of the party, come out and say that, look, in our last internal primaries, for Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia to win to become the presidential candidate, I paid delegates $1,500 each. My brother, this is not a rumor. This is not a rumor. This is a man himself, Dr. Kwabena Agyapong, making a public admission that that is how they secured victory for Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia. Is that true? And if it's true, everybody should be worried, because this is the worst indication of the monetization of national politics. You mean $1,500, not 50 cedis, not 200 cedis, not 1,000 Ghana cedis, $1,500 per delegate. Frightening. You understand? But there's an admission which is coming from this internal contest. Now, you see, the monetization of national politics is particularly problematic. But it is worse when the monetization takes place in foreign denominated currency. What does it do to the national economy? Is there any wonder then that the cedi exchanged for 17 to $1 at one point? Because we were paying delegates in dollars. Can you imagine how much money went into paying delegates in dollars? And how that affected the exchange rate? I mean, it's worrisome, it's frightening, and I want to hope that somehow this open admission will lead to some examination and some reformation which would lead to efforts to curb this horrifying monetization of politics in our country. That's just one. Listen to them. The claims that they make against each other. The claims that they make against each other. And it's so worrying. There has been this issue of the incursion into religion and the misuse of religion as a campaign material. I'm horrified. It is clear that is undemocratic. It is clear that whole effort would divide our country and destroy our country. Everywhere in the world where religion has become a tool of manipulating voters, anywhere, everywhere in the world, it has led to chaos. In some instances, it has led to war. It has led to massive devastation. And today, there is clearly what amounts to open admission of the vulgar use of religion in our politics. And I'm frightened by it. Now, for me, it is interesting that the Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia camp is the one who started raising alarm. And in fact, they believe that they were going to do substantial damage to Dr. Kwabena Agyapong. But in the final analysis, what they have done is damage to themselves. Because look, when they started going on this tangent, we raised alarm. We were ignored. I mean, when first the Bawumia Campaign said that because he came from the north and he was a Muslim, the NPP was going to sweep northern votes and sweep votes in the Zongo and so on, we raised alarm. In fact, when they said that for the first time, they would have a Muslim in the Flagstaff House directing national affairs, we said this is a dangerous path to take. Now, we came to a point where it was difficult to determine whether indeed Dr. Bawumia was a Muslim or was a Christian. Because you saw him in the churches, and he danced and shouted more than the Christians in the churches. In one church, he actually gave offering of 50,000 Ghana cedis. Offering. Very strange offering. 50,000 Ghana cedis. Offering on a Sunday church service, 50,000 Ghana cedis. And then the story of how he used to be a member of the Boys Brigade came up and so on. Unbelievable. Now today, these very people who said that because he's a Muslim, Muslims who for the first time control the Flagstaff House, who said that because he's a Muslim, they will sweep the votes in the Zongos and so on, who said that because he's a Northerner, he will sweep the votes in all the northern regions and so on, have turned around to claim that this is negative politicking and that it should not be encouraged, it should not be allowed, that they should hang Kwabena Agyapong. But Kwabena Agyapong has not done what they didn't do. In fact, they set the tone for what Dr. Kwabena Agyapong has said. And I'm surprised that they have the effrontery even to be pointing fingers at Dr. Kwabena Agyapong. How different are they from him? And so on. So sickening and unbelievable. You see, there's something else which has emerged for this campaign, for the flag bearership of the New Patriotic Party. And it demonstrates clearly that our politicians don't learn. In fact, many of them don't think at all. Thinking is too difficult for them, so they have stopped thinking. Master, don't let us go far. Let us start from 1992. You see, 1992, those who will remember, as we approached the elections, in fact, I think a few days to the elections or so, the New Patriotic Party organized a rally at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. Master, there was no space. It was filled to capacity. Vehicular movement came to a standstill. Crowd, what is the crowd? What is the crowd? And so on. So they convinced themselves that Professor Dubois had won already on the basis of the crowd that showed up at the rally. Those who remember will remember. Yeah. You understand? What? If a Dubois can pull this crowd at the Kwame Nkrumah circle, then he's walking straight. No curve, no bend, straight to the castle. The election results proved something totally different. You understand? There are many examples, but I'll give one more example. In one of the elections, Dr. Kwesi Indo was the presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party. And Maza, just before the election, they held a rally at the same Kwame Nkrumah circle. And that rally was different. The crowd. The crowd. And Dr. Kwesi Indo pulled out a masterpiece. He asked the crowd to show their CPP membership card. What? Come and see. CPP membership card was flying in the skies. Everybody had a CPP membership card in the crowd. So, wow. The lazy pundits said, what? Kwesi Indo had won the election. Charlie, when the results were counted, wait. Hey! When the results were counted, my goodness, what is this? Those people contesting for leadership in the New Patriotic Party may not know or may have forgotten what has happened in our history with crowds. So they still believe that they should mobilize people, mobilize the crowds. So it was that when my friend Kennedy Agyapong went to file his nomination, wow, he went with the crowd. And Massa, the crowd was impressive. No space to walk. He filled the whole place to capacity. What? Crowd be what? He had the crowd. But you see, Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia went after him. And I'm sure that he got frightened by the crowd. So they decided to do something. So Charlie, before he arrived, buses started arriving with people and so on. From what I saw from the videos and pictures, they couldn't quite make the crowd that Kennedy Agyapong made. But they made the attempt to equal or beat that crowd. My brothers, those crowds mean absolutely nothing. They don't tell us anything. To create that impression at the NPP headquarters, you actually don't need more than 5,000 people. That's 5,000 people. If you can move 5,000 people to NPP headquarters, you create pandemonium.
Fill the place.
You fill the place and beyond. You can fill the place all the way, create the impression of filling the place all the way to Kwame Nkrumah circle. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't show strength. It doesn't show anything. In fact, it's an exercise in self-deception. That's all it is, an exercise in self-deception. But you see, one of the major complaints that are being made by 4 of the 5 candidates or 5 self-declared, leadership potentials in the New Patriotic Party is simply that the official machinery is being used in order to propel Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia as the candidate of the party. Of course, this claim has been denied. But the denial is not sufficient. The denial is not sufficient. Because there are scenes that we can see, we can feel, and we can hear, which confirm this position. I've already spoken extensively about what happened at the University of Ghana Stadium. And I think my brother Mujib also spoke about it. The choreography was clear. The choreography was meant to portray Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia as the primus inter pares. Clear. All others were pushed in the background, and he was made to emerge as king, you know, or the person anointed to be king, and so on. It was so obvious. He did not just walk to the podium to deliver presidential address and so on. He walked hand in hand with his wife. What was that for? What was that for? They claimed that because he was vice president before, and so he walked hand in hand with his wife. They were all dressed in white apparel, and they waved white handkerchiefs and so on. I mean, so obvious. My friend Kennedy Agyapong wanted to have staged them, and if he was given the chance, he would have staged them. Because he came there with 2 horses. Horses. One brown, one white. He alone. Hey, you think this thing is a joke? It's not a joke. He came with 2 horses. 2 horses, oh, two horses. One white, all white horse, and all brown horse. I don't know what that means in terms of symbology, but it was interesting. They didn't allow the horses to enter the gate. What? You want to come with white and brown horse to come and, you know? No. He was not allowed. All the others were pushed to the background. Now this raised some serious concerns, you know, about the fairness of the process. But by far the worst display of bias has been this recent filing of nominations. And the bias is clear. The official social media handles of the New Patriotic Party were actually used to live stream Dr. Bawumia's filing process. The only one among the 5. And the party explanation is that the party's social handles are being managed by a non-political, non-party member. Wait! Master, can you believe it? First of all, that the party's social media handles are handled by somebody who is not political. Hey! A political party's social handles are managed by somebody who is not political. How is that possible? And if it is true, what kind of statement does that make about the leadership of the party? That they can place the party's social media handles in the hands of somebody who is not political. He is not just non-political, but he's also not a party member. And indeed, if he were non-political and a non-party member and so on, doesn't he or she take instructions from the party? Does he act on his own? And yet, they want us to believe this clearly cock and bull story. That's a clear display of bias. You understand? Now, there are so many problems that this party has. Of course, all parties have their problems. But the New Patriotic Party has extraordinary problems arising out of its performance in the 2024 elections. The performance was so poor, so horrible. In fact, some people say that this is the worst performance in the history of the party. It is not true. The worst performance was in the 1951 elections. Go and check the results. The party was completely annihilated. What makes the difference is that in 1951, it didn't surprise anybody that it performed so badly. because nobody took that party seriously in 1951. You understand? And then it was contesting against the CPP, which was then led by the indomitable Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and so on. And people could understand that. You understand? I mean, to the extent that in that election, and a few subsequent others, J.B. Dankwa was walloped, completely walloped, even in his own hometown. Even as he contested against a people teacher and so on. You understand? So this is not the worst performance of the New Patriotic Party. It has performed so badly in history before. And in fact, Senator, to tell you the truth, before the year 2000, older people like me and so on, you know, found it very difficult to believe that there could be a time in the life of Ghana where the UP tradition can win elections free and fair. It had never happened before. Never happened before. There was no such possibility. In fact, the only reason, and I'm sure about this, that the New Patriotic Party managed to win elections, started doing well electorally, and ultimately winning election in 2000, is the change of the configuration of national politics as a result of the emergence of military rule and the unity of our people, irrespective of the ideological orientation and so on, to unseat military rule and to build the foundations for democratic rule. Okay? So it was that before the 1992 elections, in fact, the Dankwa-Buzia tradition had become part of a broad national movement led by the Movement for Freedom and Justice. And somehow, by some schemes, one of its members had become the absentee national chairman of the movement. So it had created a new situation completely. It was no longer seen as a UP tradition, but it was being seen as part of a broad national movement for change. It gave it a lot of weight, it changed its color, and it changed public perception about the party. But in the year 2000, and the years after the year 2000, President John Agyekum Kufuor played a card that nobody from the UP had ever played. He was very, 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 very strategic. He was very wise and did some things which many people did not take note of, did not even recognize at the time. I'll tell you one. He sought an alliance with the CPP. Okay. And I was in the meeting when he arrived with Jake Obechi-Bilamte and so on. I was in the meeting, Dr. Nasser, Gamal Nasser was in the meeting, there were so many of us in the meeting. So when he came, there were people in the CPP who did not want an alliance with the New Patriotic Party. So they sought to impose conditions that they thought were difficult for any UP person to agree to. And in those days, one of the conditions they imposed was free education. That, yeah, we are ready to go into an alliance with you. Only on condition that if you win power, you will introduce free education, which was cancelled by the Buzia administration. Okay, that was one of the conditions. There were many other conditions. So they were so happy. They thought that Kufuor would disagree. Then, Kufuor got up and said, "Is this all you want?" He said, "Yes." Then he said, "Draft it and bring it. Jake, go and sign it." So myself and Dr. Nasser prepared the agreement in less than 1 hour. We had finished preparing the agreement. And when we were preparing, Dr. Nasser was saying, "Put in this, put in that," you know, hoping that he would refuse to sign that agreement. Kufuor did not blink an eye. He did not change one word. He did not change a comma. He signed the agreement and sealed that alliance. You understand? That was a major move that he made. He sealed that alliance. Indeed, go back. you realize that for the 2000 elections, the billboards which Kufuor erected, the most dominant billboards, were billboards in which he and Nkrumah were sitting together. There are billboards like that, Kufuor and Nkrumah together. So, Kufuor saw the mood of the country, he read the mood of the country correctly, and decided that he could unite the different political traditions, in order to be able to defeat the National Democratic Congress. And it worked. You see, it worked. Now, unfortunately for the current crop of leaders of the New Patriotic Party, I was going to use some word. They are so myopic. Look, they are unable to see beyond their nose and so on. So rather than build a broad alliance of forces, they started fighting everybody, including their own members, including persons who have contributed significantly to build the New Patriotic Party to what it has become today. So we're told, you're Nkrumah, and so on. You remember? Alan Chemati, if he wants to go, let him go. And he left, and so on. So that attitude contributed significantly to the massive defeat that the party suffered. But they haven't learned from those mistakes yet. They haven't learned from those mistakes yet. Indeed, it seems to me that there's only one person who so far realizes that mistake and appears prepared to repair the damage which has been done. And surprisingly, that person is Kennedy Agyapong. Have you heard his messaging? He's saying that, look, Nkrumah is the best leader that Ghana had. And that it is important to look at Nkrumah's strategy and to try and beat Nkrumah and so on. That's Kennedy Agyapong. He's the only person who recognizes this. If I like, tell me. You understand? And appears to be working on it. Surprisingly, he's the only person. Okay? So now here we are, a party which has gone into this terrible, devastating defeat, and which claims publicly that it is trying to rebuild, but in reality is repeating all the mistakes of the past. It is not even working for the internal cohesion of the party machinery. Because this obvious attempt to railroad everybody into supporting Bawumia is a repetition of past mistakes. You understand? Now, it seems to me, and I think it's very clear, that the leadership of this party does not understand the state in which the party is now. Look, kwata. Listen. There's a threat of another party emerging from the ashes of the New Patriotic Party. That one led by Dr. What is his name? Whatever his name is. Yes. That threat is there. It hasn't materialized yet, but it's a threat which is looming. You understand? In addition to that, all of us know, even though Law and his people are not confirming it with any vehemence and so on, all of us know that plans are afoot to register the Movement for Change as a political party. Huh? That should be seen as a major threat. You know, what are they doing about these things, these developments? But they don't care. They think that all that is important is to go to Congress somehow by January and elect Alhaji Mahamadu Bawumia as president, and all the problems are over. What kind of thinking is that? And people have spoken, and they are not being listened to. I saw the statement made by Mr. Adainimo about why he's not contesting for the presidential candidature of the party. Did you read that statement? One of his major complaints is that it is obvious to him that everything possible is being done to to support only one of the candidates by the party structures and the party executive. Okay? That's one. Two, he is talking about the monetization of the process of electing the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party. Three, he's talking about the skewing of the processes to favor only one person. And so on. This is a dynamo. This is not me. This is a dynamo. Okay? Now, let us assume that all of these shenanigans will bear fruit. And that in the final analysis, Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia will be elected as presidential candidate. Then what happens? You are heading straight to a massive defeat. You are heading straight for a massive defeat in 2024. 2028. In 2028, thank you, sir, thank you. 2028. In spite of the obvious mistakes that the National Democratic Congress is also making. You understand? I mean, and I listened last week to the national chairman of the party, Mr. or Comrade Johnson Asiedu Nketia, about all these people, all these strange individuals who are popping up and claiming that they will be presidential candidates of the NDC and so on. And I fully agree with General Mosquito. General Mosquito is making a lot of sense. He said they are picking before their time. And that they will destroy the Mahama administration. They will surely destroy the Mahama administration. Because instead of focusing on the reset agenda of Mahama, they are campaigning for themselves. They have fought, maneuvered, and done all kinds of things to be part of the government. And they are not doing governmental work. They are doing their personal work. It's a problem in the NDC, and I don't see why they are not seeing it. And indeed, if I were President Mahama, I would sack them, sack them, sack them, sack them. They are not helping your agenda. And Asiedu Nketia makes the point, very sensible. He says, look, whoever becomes flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress will have to campaign on the record of Mahama. So let's build that record upon which we are going to campaign. But they are not interested in building that record. Their foolish ambition, foolish, extremely foolish ambition, is leading them astray. And they are making all kinds of statements. One of them actually came up and said, oh, it is God who selects the leadership of the NDC. Hey, where is that coming from? So now God is a card-bearing member of the NDC. What rubbish is that? I mean, God has become a card-bearing member of the NDC. Why would God prefer NDC to CPP or to APC? Why? And he believes that. You have been made a minister. You have been in office for 8 long months. As I sit here as a journalist, I don't know the mission of your ministry. You have not even been able to explain the mission of your ministry. And the little time you are spending it in a daydream about you becoming president. And President Mahama is tolerating this. He's tolerating this. Can you believe that he's tolerating this? Sack him one time. Sack him. My brother, that's the only way. If you're a leader, you have to have the knack to inflict punishment, even painful punishment, to some of your supporters when they go astray. It's the only way of keeping your focus. So all those who are picking before their time, as President Akufo said, get rid of them. They are useless. They will not contribute to your agenda. You see, if some people in the NPP begin to nurse hopes of coming to power after 4 years, it is because of these things. It is because of these weaknesses that you are displaying. Why? 8 months into the administration, you already want to replace Mahama? Why? Why the hurry? Why are you in a hurry? In a hurry for what? Do the work. Let us see that your performance is excellent. If we see that your performance is excellent, you don't have to tell us that you want to be leader. We will come and grab you and force you to be leader. But you haven't done anything. You haven't done nothing. But can you call me back? But can you call me back? You haven't done nothing. And you're wasting our years with your useless ambition. Useless and reckless ambition. Unbelievable. But you see, this is what our politics has been reduced to. Our politics has been reduced to a level where anybody gets up in the morning, looks himself or herself in the mirror, and thinks that he's handsome or beautiful. Puts his hand in his pocket and can feel some money there inside the pocket. You understand? And then he looks around us and he sees all these poor people who are looking for crumbs and so on. Says, I will be president. I will be leader. Master, that is not how leadership emerges. The leader is the one who is ready to work hardest in the team. The leader is the one who wants to sacrifice his or her everything for the success of the collective. The leader is the one who shows up in the most difficult and hard times and makes the ultimate, the most difficult sacrifices. That's the leader. The leader is not the person who will call a few journalists, pay solidarity for his pictures to be put in the newspaper and his voice to be heard on radio saying that he wants to be president. We are tired of these people.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.